It's an abrupt adjustment when you don't have housekeeping at your actual
Yeah,
home. Is that like it's difficult to come back
yeah.
to that
When you go
reality?
from 2 weeks living on the road and hotels and stuff, you gotta reintegrate back into real life.
Like, did you
See how
travel
things
long
go.
enough that you created like your own like well, I don't know. I guess this is maybe a personal question more than anything else. It's like, do you kind of create routines? Like, do you like routines? Like, I actually like to get out. Like, a lot of times I have the same breakfast or something. But I find that sometimes, like, if you travel long enough or you're gone, like, you'll start to create like a routine. Like, you're in, like, I go to this place for breakfast. I get
Oh
this.
yeah.
I do like this kind of workout, or I go watch this show, or like, did you get
Uh-huh.
to that level of like, you kind of start to like build the routine, and then you're back at home, or were you never
Yeah,
fully
well,
adjusted?
that's an interesting. I think it was difficult. Well, yeah, I generally have a routine of I do this at home. I wake up at like 6 and putter around. Now, of course, on this trip I was jet lagged, so I woke up at like 4 and just read things. But then also like if I go to like normal travel stuff, I have a routine. But this one there was all sorts of people to see and things to do, so my routine was disrupted. But
Yeah.
I always have I needed like an hour in the morning to have some coffee and wake up. And that's always nice to have for
Yeah.
sure.
Getting up
Yeah.
early, like, slow boot up time, as they say, right?
That's right.
That's
Exactly.
what we
Just
all
yeah.
kinda need, a little
I
boot up
think
time.
so. I don't have time. I don't really understand the meditating and self-actualization and all that, but I understand having a cup of coffee and just sitting there.
Seems like so much work, right? Just rather than just getting up and, like, I don't know,
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
cruising. I don't know, like, people I think that's, like, everyone says it's bad, but I kinda, like, I don't know, check my, get the phone, just kinda check the news, check the tweets, like, I don't know, I find it, like, I don't
Yeah.
find it stressful, but I know people would say that's wrong, like, that's a
And the
wrong way.
on the fours and the sixes. I like I don't know what that means on
What are we on,
radio.
like, NPR? NPR?
Yeah.
Local news on the 4s and 6s coming at you
No,
live.
I agree. I mean, the answer to feeling like you have too much work to do is not to get more work to do. Like learning new. Just sit there, read some news, and as long as you're not reading, I make sure not to read depressing stuff that's infuriating. I only read good quality
Yeah, well,
stuff.
that's true. I mean, that's kinda, like, good that's just setting up, like, good filters, right? Like, finding
Yes.
or good news, I don't know, good outlets that you find satisfying, I should say.
Yeah. Yeah.
Alri
We recorded last week, right? Yes, we did.
I
Okay.
hope
Okay.
so. I hope we
Yeah.
did. It's out there.
Instead of the doppelgangers, I gotta
If we
fit.
if we did
I
it,
gotta.
that other group is doing a good job. We should just let them take over.
Oh yeah, as long as the checks keep coming this way.
That's right, man. That's what we need.
I've got to figure out my camera set. Have I showed you my camera setup recently? I'll show this
No, no.
for the 1 to 2 streamers. I see JJ is there, but I'm going to use the old. Oh, got a little message here. Uh huh. Oh,
What's up?
sorry. There's in the evening.
Speaking of not getting distracted by your cell phones.
You get like since I'm over here in Europe in the evening, all the Americans are waking up and they'll send messages, and it's taken several years to basically, even though I kind of glance at it, to ignore it, But anyhow, so okay, no wait, hey, this is kind of fun. Do one of these things.
Camera. So what are we doing? What's that? That's
No,
like a
this is not
selfie
what
of
we
you,
want.
right? What's going
No, no,
on?
no. I'm messing this up. Okay, there we go. So you see, can you kind of see
Okay, I can see.
the?
What do we see?
This is what I'm looking at. So this is my camera.
Uh-huh. I don't know
You
if this
see?
is viewable. This is crazy looking. I don't
Oh,
know. It's
that's not
like
working.
I
Let's try this.
I don't know. I wasn't getting it.
Okay, let me do it this way. Let's try this.
All
This is a
right.
little fun we can have.
All right. Okay. What do you got there? You got
Is that focusing?
oh,
Oh
there it is. Now it's
yeah.
focused. Yeah,
So
okay.
you see how I have that boom arm coming down with the camera
Huh.
hanging from it?
Oh, okay.
That
And
is
you have
just
all
not a
this
good
lighting and stuff
situation.
too, huh? So this is what I
Oh
need.
yeah.
This is why I look like, or it looks like it's looking down on me. So, all
Yeah.
right.
But I need to figure out the camera holding situation, and I just it's not working out well. I don't um, I don't know. I think maybe if I got that what was it, that slacker smooth arm that you have, that
Uh-huh.
goes on the desk. That might work, so that the
Yeah.
camera comes up.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe that's what I need. I need one. Well, then it's like I like to have the monitors. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know how to get it
Yeah.
all right because it's like I still want my monitors in front of me, so I need the camera. It's I don't know. The streaming setups, you're never really done. You just spend more money. That's all there really is to it.
I bet you could have a whole YouTube channel that
Of
was
just
just
streaming
like
setups.
my AV setup.
Yeah, I think it would definitely work.
You could be like, "Hey guys, today I thought I would redo it again. Day number 497.
Just
Give me
every
some
day.
comments about how you like it."
Just every day. I
Today
like it. I like it.
I'm broadcasting from the fireplace. Little Santa
But like
Claus
you do it
inspired.
always with the belief that you're like about to launch a podcast or a streaming channel. Like that's how you do it. Be like, hey, I'm just getting ready to launch the as soon as I get it all set up, and then you just make the channel forever setting up and just constantly getting new stuff and trying new stuff. You're like, it's not ready yet. You just got a new microphone, have to try it. Just got a new camera, just have to try it. That would be perfect.
And then your ostensible business that you run is you have a consultancy for how to start and run a successful podcast.
Yeah, no, that'd be good. And then you have people on talking about like, hey, what should we do when we get started? Like, how would it really work? And then you just like that would be like your interviews. Your interviews would be like, well, what should we do when we actually start for real? It would just be perpetually like.
I know. I know what you could call it.
God,
You could call it the podcast name would be called Episode 1.
Yeah. Oh, it'd be fantastic, right? Like, and you're always working towards episode 1. You actually never get there. Oh, it'd be fantastic.
You'd have to go into Fireside and turn off the
numbers,
incrementing show numbers so that it's always episode 1.
Yeah. I'm worried about Fireside. I was worried they're going to go out of business.
What's going on over there?
I don't know. They just raised prices, and then who's the man behind it? Dan
Benjamin.
Yeah, I think he's working on like a new venture, which is fine. Like, I mean, it's more to him, right? It's great, but it's just like I just feel like it's like, well, this didn't hit it big. They haven't been bought by Spotify or something, so I feel like we're on the legacy podcast host, which is fine, which is kind of fitting for us. But now, because I looked, of course, I had to look into like, well, what's it going to take for us to migrate? And it's like migrating the audio pretty straightforward. But of course, now we've been locked in because we've taken advantage of all this, like the blog feature and the and all the integration. So it's like, like Libsyn doesn't have all this. I can't just point it to Libsyn and just take over. I have to so I don't know. I'm concerned.
Well, I migrated the Tanzu Talk podcast to Podbean.
And how'd it go?
It's fine. I mean,
did the show notes come over and all? Like the
yeah. It was actually really good. Well,
okay.
Not the pages, just the episodes.
Now we lose all our SEO. All our beautiful notes. I guess that's another reason people should sign up for the newsletter. Then you always have the email, so you always have them.
Well, no, I mean the pages come over, just like the extra, the show note pages come over.
Okay, they do.
But just like the extra pages that we've made don't come over.
Okay, all right. Well, that would be all right then. I don't know. Maybe I need to look at Okay, so Podbean.
Don't. Podbean is awful. Fireside is
that was superior. Great. Fantastic. That's great.
Podbean is terrible. It's
why did you migrate then? What was your reason?
Well, because I have to go through the official channels.
Oh, that's right. They had a better procurement. They
were already in the system.
Yeah,
and then I think I got everywhere up to the security check, and I was emailing Dan, and I thought there were multiple people, and I was like, can you fill this out? And he was like, I cannot, as a single person company, I do not have the time to fill this out. Which I was like, reasonable. I was like, response. Respect, man. Like, that's good.
That's funny. That seems like so like vendor selection at a large company. It's like they were already in the system has got to be the number one reasons people were picked, right? Because there always be so many jobs where people be like, this group is so creative. They've done such and such, and it's so good. We should do something similar. And it's like, they're not in the system. We can't. No.
Yeah.
We could try to get them in the system, but that's like at least 6 months. And, we're going to lose the budget by then. So,
and then I don't know, there's some other hijinks that have happened around that setup that I'm emailing about with people. And I sent an email today, like at the end of the email, I was like, what are we, I put it more tactfully, but I was like, what are we really doing here? Like, if it helps, this was only $108. I'm happy to pay for it myself if that, I can send cash somewhere, right? Like it's just like I was like,
that.
yeah, I was like, I feel like we've spent a, a lot more than $108 on this.
Getting this. Oh, I love it. I love the procurement process.
I don't even, I could make up who it was for, right? Like, capitalism or something, but seriously, I don't know who it's for. It's for no one. It's just,
It's for no one.
it's just headless optimization running amok.
Just they should have that, like, I don't know, I guess some places do, where they just sort of like, I don't know, under a certain amount, like you can expense under a certain amount, you can expense so much a year, it just goes away, right? Like the 108, there you go. You could just use your card on that. Be like, yep, just do it. So
yeah.
All right. What about these topics? You good with them, or what else you want to bring up? What's this topic here? You SaaS spend? You said something like you don't understand that.
Yeah. I don't know. We'll see if it.
Should we pull that into?
I mean,
I'll move it up into the rundown just in case you want to talk about it.
It's my usual complaint of like these kind of analyses where, like, as I point out, they make a bucket of comparables, and for example, on there is Expensify, DocuSign. Okay, we're kind of in the same area.
Save it for the show. Yeah. Sounds like I feel like you have thoughts there. You're going down a good topic, right?
I've got thoughts, Brandon.
Now I'm looking up what is the plural of analysis. What you were trying to know.
Analrapist.
I feel like if this was like an NPR podcast or Vox, like that's where I feel like I really learned the plural of a lot of like when they kind of go Latin on you. You're like, oh, I didn't realize that had a Latin plural. Shit. Ezra Klein wins again. Matt Iglesias wins again. Although I never hear Matt Iglesias next, he doesn't do any podcasts, right?
Oh, really? He doesn't even
analysis. Yeah, I guess that's all it is. That's not very exciting, is it?
I don't really read Matt Iglesias stuff anymore. I think he's gotten a little. He hasn't gone off the rails. I think he's gone way too on the rails. He's got very long pieces.
Yeah, I think Matt Iglesias was better consumed via audio, but I know he loves. I mean, like all the writers, they all believe that writing is the reason they were put on the earth, and
yeah.
I guess that's why you're a journalist, right? I mean, that's what journalists want to do. Like, all I want to do is write. And it's like, I just like hearing you. I just like kind of hearing your kind of your off the cuff takes. It's so much better than trying to like get through 10,000 words. Although I say that, and Matt Levine is maybe one of the few people where I'm like, he's better written. He's like more. He's just like his written voice is better than his spoken voice.
I was gonna say though, I don't know if this is a taboo topic, but I think I might be done with that Matt Levine guy. Just like,
my gosh.
I'm just like,
you
I get it.
Elon Musk, he finally just tripped the wire with you.
I'm just not even before that. I'm just like, I don't know, SPACs, Elon Musk, how stock markets are supposed
everything
to work.
Is insider trading. Oh,
I think if he picked out his like 8 to 10 theories on everything and he wrote a book, that would be a fantastic book, right? Kind of like how do you that guy the name of that guy who I liked a lot, who like does the sports stuff but also the culture, and he's like red hair, Klosterman.
Oh yeah, Chuck Klosterman. Yeah,
yeah. I think his '90s book would be a good model for Matt Levine.
For Klosterman or for Matt Levine. Okay. Well, maybe he will. Man, I'm sure he's gotten many offers to write a book. So maybe.
Well, I'm sure he listens to this podcast. I mean, the stream, not even a podcast yet. So I think.
All right, well that's fair. Hey man, eventually, well that's how I felt like with the old exponent, Ben Thompson. Like I don't know, I think sometimes it's frequency too. Like I don't want to read Ben Thompson every day. Like that's why I never subscribe to the newsletter. I want him, but like once a quarter or something, I want to hear his best thoughts. So like you or somebody, or when like someone forwards me a thing like this was really good, it's like, oh, it's good to check in with what he has to say. But every day I'm like, no, I don't know. I don't.
It also suffers from something I kind of, not realize, but I remember thinking in the 90s, which is like the problem with journalism is that they have to come up with something to write about every day. And, it's much better if you just wait till there's something worth writing about.
Well, you kind of have that though. You have like the writing, you have that a little bit of that. Like you like to write, right? You're like there's a certain, like, I don't know. There's like a gene. There's like where people like, I want to write, Mm-hmm. Where like a lot of the rest of us, like, I don't really like to write. I don't like to read that much. Could we get you to summarize it? I don't know. It's just sort of like when you hear journalists, especially like they because they're always so sad about the newspaper's gone. I'm like, yeah, it wasn't that great. You know what I mean? There's plenty of newspapers left. The local newspaper, like I don't miss it. I don't miss it at all. Like it's
Right.
it's fine.
Give me the green sheets.
All right.
The race.
All right.
What is it? The racing news.
Yeah, just give me well, I like Axios too. Axios is just like straight out of my bullet point lifestyle. I'm like, this is great. Send me an email. About 30 bullet points. I'm in and out of it in about 10 minutes. It's absolutely fantastic.
It is pretty good.
So I like that stuff.
Yeah.
All right, you ready to roll?
Yes.
All right, let's do it. Whenever you're ready.
I might be doing something unadvisable. Usually, I have a protective case that I use for any sort of problem you might encounter, drops and falls. But I was on a trip. I was on several trips recently, and you got I have that gigantic. I'm talking about my phone, by the way. I've got that big Apple add-on case that has a battery. You just slide your phone into one of the more satisfying things. I forget the name of this thing exactly, but it's this big silicone-y case that's got a battery that you can slide your phone into, as I suppose I just said. And boy, sliding a phone into there is very, very satisfying, as my kids like to say. However, the silicone case makes it really difficult to get in and out of a tight pocket. Maybe if you had like a loose pocket, you were wearing like some yoga pants or your sports leisure wear, like it's on synthetic, so maybe it works out well. But when you're wearing cotton, as I more frequently do, maybe a pair of Levi's or some shorts that I've been growing out of, it's hard to get it in and out. So what I started doing is I would, I don't want to carry two phones, and I want to carry two cases. So I would take the phone out of the case. Kim and I were just in Paris in a short little, fun trip this weekend. So I would start off the day with the phone outside of a case in my pocket. And then when we finished looking around the Louvre or whatever, and then the phone needed some juice, I would slip it into the case and just put up with the friction of getting the phone in and out. Because, you're out there traveling and you're like, you want to take your phone out to take pictures of things. You want to check on something. You want to look up a map. You want to do this. So you're always getting your phone in and out. But then you got the resistance from the silicone case here. Now, what I've noticed is that I have not put on my normal daily case, and I'm just kind of leaving the phone uncased. And I'm starting to be concerned, but it's just so nice. It's pretty good. And I think my theory of why this is bad is that how there's the I think this is one of those it turns out math is math type of things where there's some statistics that they always try to they always try to freak you out about, where most people they get in accidents close to their home, and it's just sort of that's because where you spend most of your time in a car, and so chances are that's where you will have an accident. That probably also applies to most people being kidnapped or killed by people they know, because it's that's who you spend most of your time around. So that got kind of dark there. Anyhow, but I feel like the same thing is going to apply to me is I'm not so much going to drop the phone and crack it while I'm out and about, right? Which is kind of what the scenario in your head is. Right. But it's going to be when I'm here at the house, just relaxing, as I hope all of us do, because I don't want to be the only one. You're having your daily constitutional reading the news with your phone. The phone has slipped out of my hands so many times while I'm sitting on the toilet, right? Only a couple times into the toilet. But, and then that's the worst place, because it's generally all tile in a toilet, restroom, wash closet, whatever you want to call it.
It's got a hard surface, right? Yeah.
Yeah. So you're sitting there and you're not exactly in a position where you can sort of rescue the phone. I mean, if you drop the phone, your best bet is it's going to fall into your pants or your jumpsuit or your dress or whatever you've got there. But I don't know. I think if I don't start putting it in a case branded, I'm going to be relaxing one morning, just, setting myself up for the day, and boom, I'm going to crack the phone on the bathroom floor. But I'm not sure. What's your position on this? Do I need to
well, let's go back.
Put a case on it?
I have some follow-up here. One, are you using the MagSafe battery case? Is that the one that sort of just is, or is it actually
no,
the leather case thing that comes together?
I forget the number, but I have the older, whatever is before MagSafe.
Okay.
No,
So for you,
I've got like the case that is just,
yeah. So you
this
have like
sort
the
of thing.
full case that has the battery. So I guess one, maybe we'll get into this topic later. Like you'll have to decide, maybe in the future version, you have to try this MagSafe battery pack. So then my follow up to this is like, well, I
Good
mean,
idea.
is your battery just old or is it just like heavy use? Because you can always go with just like, especially if you're traveling with a spouse who's maybe they're carrying some type of purse or some type of bag. Like you can go with like, hey, can you just
Mhm.
throw this spare battery in the
Okay,
or just go battery. I've done this a lot, like battery and just secondary battery that has a cable just kind of in your pocket, or
totally.
maybe a jacket pocket or some other pocket, and you just carry that around, and when you need it, you just juice it up, right?
Well, I have put a
Um,
lot of thought into all of that, Brandon, which I will now review.
okay.
And that is one. Well, first of all, there's this ideal state of traveling, right? Like tourist traveling or work traveling. And the ideal state for me, the so-called living the dream, is you appear to have nothing, right? You got to have
Yes.
a wallet. You're gonna have your phone. You got if you're of course wearing some jeans that have the 5 pockets, so you've got your AirPad, whatever your headphones in that little tiny coin pocket.
Hmm.
You know, I buy things without those coin pockets, and I'm like, I don't want this. This is no good because I don't want to have like my headphones like jangling around and like
Right.
falling out in my pocket. And then I got a little field notes paper notebook. I got a pen, maybe a handkerchief. That's all you need, right? Now,
Yep.
that's assuming you don't need outerwear like a jacket, right? But
Yep.
let's stick with that ideal state. So, in that ideal state, this is why I started with this. Is this whole thing's a problem? Is like taking the phone in and out. So I take the silicone case and I put it in my back pocket, which I don't like that. But
Hmm.
it's a compromise. So you may be saying you're with your companion and they have a bag. Why not just put your stuff in the bag? And I feel like I wouldn't want people putting their stuff in my bag. So I like follow the golden rule of like I don't want to be the person who's just like, hey, can you carry some of my stuff? Because like while I would always say yes, in my head I would be like, no, you carry your own fucking stuff. Like
Mm.
if you got
Okay.
so much stuff, bring a bag. Like I don't want to have to carry your stuff. And so like I don't want to impose that on other people. And then also you got to like ask them for it. And you're basically shifting the problem that you don't want to have onto them. And I feel like I don't know, I feel like I'm not a good enough person to be okay with that. Like I'm a little too like want to make people happy. So that's the problem. Now, the second issue. Now when it's cool enough, even cold, to wear a jacket, no problems. I fully use all the jacket pockets. But we were in Paris and it was like 85, almost 90 degrees when you're walking around. And like, there's no jacket. You got to wear shorts. And, but yeah, if you have a jacket, it's perfect. Especially the best ones will be those jackets that have the kind of like breast pocket. Cause that's good. Cause then all your stuff doesn't just fall down to your waistline area and accessing the breast pocket with a zipper there's always very fast. Put all sorts of stuff in
All
there.
right, let me throw some else at you. So it's like I think a vest, right? That's got pockets, especially if you're kind of in tourist mode, right? So this is sort of like, I don't know, like you may not want to edge up into the dad zone here, but like if you can get yourself some kind of, just because you just need more pockets to carry stuff. So sometimes that's a go-to. And then the other thing that I've more recently done is sort of like, the day pack, right? The
Oh,
packable thin
yes.
backpack. So if you're not going to potentially like, ask the spouse, because then you can go, what I find there is you can go water bottle,
Yeah.
extra computer accessories, maybe like a hat, maybe like, but then you're kind of committing to like kind of like a tourist day. But then I
Yeah.
just feel like, hey, once you kind of like go travel backpack, then you just kind of get everything you need. And I often find this is like kind of the ROI on that is like, well, if I've got a water bottle, then it's like we don't have to buy all the
Yeah.
fancy,
Yeah.
expensive water. We can just fill it up wherever. So, have you considered that as an alternative to solving your battery
I
situation?
I think that is not the solution, but that is something that comes up, right? Like, I mean, you're exactly right that like, one day I was like, well, we're going to go do some shopping, so we're going to need a bag, so I might as well bring this backpack. And then problem solved. You
Yep.
know, but then you got the backpack. No longer living the dream. But
Yeah, that's true.
that's
I mean,
that's what you got to do. I mean, maybe what I need is like a butler or a valet who just goes around with me and carries all the stuff.
All right. That's good. I don't know, man. I will say this. I went, I'll give you like, here's a little, I think it's called the Stowaway backpack that
Mm.
someone actually ended up giving to me as a gift. And I thought nothing of it at the time. But I now throw this into like, if I'm on like a vacation, I kind of just throw that in the suitcase. And I don't know, maybe it's just, I'm just at the state of life where I don't care anymore. I'm like, no, I
Yeah.
want to have the stuff that I want to have. So, I don't know, but you're right. It's not living the dream though. To your
Oh
point.
yeah, yeah. I've got. Oh, this one is. Oh, I see. No, that's a jacket. Yeah, I've got a couple of these.
No,
Not
this
this
is
exact
no,
thing.
this is a backpack. Did it not come up that way? It's a
No, no,
backpack.
no. I just looked at one of the pictures and it had a jacket in it, which made it look like there was a pocket with a zipper in it. Anyways, it's fine.
Yeah.
But
So
yeah,
anyway, I don't know. I mean,
no.
this is a good one, but like, there's lots of them, right? There's a million.
These
of
are.
them.
This one is actually. I remember looking at this one. So I have the Patagonia version of this one, of course.
Okay.
That's
All
a
right.
little older, and I also, for some dumb reason, bought a Samsonite version of this, which is good.
Okay.
But
Well, I'm
this
sure
is
those are good ones, right?
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. They're good. They're good. And that's exactly what I used in Paris. I used the Patagonia one day. But then the problem became like, one, you've got a backpack. And then two, it was really hot. So like throughout the day, just like my back is just like covered in sweat, of course. But whatever. I think you hit on the good thing is I need to get the MagSafe battery.
Yeah, that may be because that one's supposed to just like easily go off and on. So maybe that's your whole thing.
And I have also carried plugs and cords in my back pocket and batteries, so that works too.
Who will we not? Well, while everyone's out there carrying plugs and cords and backpacks, you probably need to find yourself logging into remote systems. And if you need to do that, you need to go visit our friends at Teleport. They'll help you do it more securely. So, and of course, when you visit them, make sure to tell them your friends at Software Defined Talk sent you. So
maybe if we could just make fanny packs the right thing. And okay,
it is one of those things. Like if you could pick something to make fashionable that isn't fashionable, like that may be high on my list, right? If like you're like, this is because I see sometimes people wear kind of like it across your chest, kind of like what is it, like a bike messenger style, right? That seems like a way to kind of make it's just it really is a fanny pack. It's just sort of placed slightly differently, right? And it's like, well, maybe that's the way to go, right? And that's a little bit I don't know. Well,
I gotta tell you to be my expat comment of the day. I'm sure I've mentioned this before, but there are so many, as we Americans would say, merces or man purses around here that I kind of don't even notice it anymore. Like it is insanely pervasive that like men or whatever wander around with like basically like a little fancy purse. And it looks really nice. Like it seems to be working out well for them. So, maybe if we can get like all the right wing crazy people in America to disappear, we can finally introduce some new.
We could just do it. We could all just carry what we need and be comfortable at the same time. It'd be fantastic.
They're probably the ones holding us back.
Definitely. Definitely on that issue. That's the only thing. So.
Oh boy! All right. Well,
all right. Whenever you're ready.
For the streamers, I put in a link to an ode to fanny packs. I think if you listen to it as I have about 50 to 500 times, you'll come over to the fanny pack lifestyle as it is. All right. Well, we like to check in on our old friend Digital Transformation every now and then to anthropomorphize digital transformation. I think, is that still a phrase? Does that come up a lot in your work, Brandon? You have a couple of phone calls a day about digital transformation.
All day, every day. I would say that's kind of what I do. I feel like we don't always use that phrase because everybody's kind of sick of it, but we end up basically talking about that. We use other words, right? Moving to the cloud, digital transformation, updating your systems, migrate, journey. I have a lot of slides that say journey. So we have all of them. We've got all the adjectives that describe that. So yes, this does come up in my daily conversations.
Well, we've got a couple of data points. It's good to check in on what's going on here. One, it looks like in Japan, they're finally going to stop using floppy disks for government use. Now, I didn't dig in to see if it was the 3.5, the 5.25, or like what is it, like a 6 2/9? I forget. There's that gigantic floppy disk. I don't know if they're
in the article here it says that I guess legal issues have prevented the modernization to the cloud data storage in the past. The Japanese government offices often use CDs, mini disk, or floppy disks to accept submissions from the public and businesses. So, of course, we've also used CDs. Of course, I think, well, I don't know. Depending on your age, you probably had some experience with floppy disks. I will say though, the mini disc mostly missed out on that one. I never really, I don't know,
Yeah,
never got. I don't. I have nothing
I
against it. I just never had a mini disc player. Like I just kind of skipped that one.
I
So
remember I remember seeing a mini disc, a mini disc, so to speak, in Last Action Hero. You remember it's he
yes,
uses these mini discs to like for voices when his wife calls him. Like total like 80s would not fly nowadays thing where he's got selections like, you know, wife wants to talk about shopping. Wife is upset at me. And it's just a recording of him going like, "Oh, uh-huh. Really? Oh, I'm sorry." That's the only time I ever saw mini discs up on this big screen.
But it is interesting. I think the whole thing about this is so the digital minister, who's I think the name is in Japan, it's called I think it's Kono Taro. So apologies if he basically outlines here. So this is the way it was kind of phrased is interesting. Digital minister declares a war on floppy disk. There are about 1,900 government procedures that require business community to use disk, floppy,
Whoa.
CD, et cetera, et cetera. So I think this is interesting for a couple of reasons. Like one is on the face of it, like all you have to do to hear the problem is to know the solution. You're like, well, they should stop doing that. They should stop requiring that. And they have an example here that the Tokyo police lost 2 floppy disks containing information on 38 public housing applicants. And so that was a big deal. So, like all digital transformation projects, like you literally all you have to do is hear the problem to know the solution. So the solution is, well, stop doing that. And there are numerous ways that those files could be transferred. But in order for it to actually be done, you almost have to have like this person. I don't know them, but it just seems like you have to have this mentality of like, yeah, like you're going to war, right? Like
Yeah.
literally the person's like, I have to declare war on this to get it done because the organization will literally start fighting back. Like even though no one person will defend it, like the organizational, like if you will, institutional knowledge of the organization will start to repel any idea, right? So it is like, while it's a ridiculous metaphor to be like, well, we have to go to war to get rid of these discs. It's like, no, that's almost the mentality that you're going to need to succeed. Because think about it. It's, what are we now? 2022. I don't think you or I could quickly even go find a floppy disk if we had to. If I said 24 hours, go find a floppy disk, it would probably take you a while to find one, right?
Yeah.
So it's not like people haven't thought about this before, like, oh, this is really bad. No, many people, they've probably been talking about getting rid of this for 25 years, but no one has been successful. And I bet you the people that tried before were really, really smart. But for whatever reason, they gave up. So I just think it's a great example of like what it takes to be and the people it kind of takes. So I don't know what the incentives that Kono has here to actually get it done. He's probably not going to get like some huge bonus. It's a governmental position. It's not like he's going to become a billionaire. It's not like he's going to like revolutionize any industry. He's just going to make, you know, thousands, maybe millions of people's lives simpler and get almost no one at the end of this will be like, job well done. They'll be like, should have been done a long time ago. So it takes like a very unique leader, I think, to go into this and be like, I'm going to do this. I'm going to get nothing but pain to do it. And when it's all finished, no one will really care. And they'll just ask me why it wasn't done sooner. And so we asked ourselves, this is to me always like the question is like, well, these are often the reasons why digital transformation is so difficult. So I think it's a good example of it. What are your thoughts, Kote?
I think this is great. I had not thought this in depth about the floppy disk issue, but I think you nailed it all. It's just like we all know this should be happening. It doesn't happen. And every time we try to do it, people are resistant. They don't even know why. They don't even know they're resisting. I think this is a critical issue we should watch to see how long it actually takes, what the readouts are, because you know either it's a great success. Was it going to be the end of the year, whatever the date is, like all the floppy disks and mini disks are removed, and in which case it not proves, but it in the PDF that you legion yourself for scientific method of things, it demonstrates that you do have to go to war for it to be successful. And then if it doesn't work out, you can just be like, yep, That's the way it is. Stuff never goes away. People are resistant to change, and no matter what you do, it's just going to be extremely difficult. And I think we every security, not every, many security issues kind of make fun of this on the other end of like, oh right, you use Dropbox, bad idea. I mean, not that Dropbox is insecure, but just the practices around it of sharing passwords and things like that. Like people can mess that up just as much. But I think I'm starting to think maybe I need to go read on this, but I think we need to. You remember they used to sponsor the show, the people. We need to get that Paul Ford guy out of retirement, and he's got to start writing this story, right? And be like, here's what we're going to do. I don't know how long it's going to take you, but you got to start on the reporting, track this out, just do some real Michael Lewis shit on this, and like whatever the end is, you're the person to write this story, right? Like,
well, because I do think we already have kind of our hero, right? Maybe it's kind of the revolutionary who will be the digital minister, and then of course I doubt the digital minister is actually doing the work, so they have probably tasked someone that works for them, like, okay, I need you to like go in and do it. But I would say, so I've been thinking about this too. It's like if we were hiring someone to go do this and finding someone, like the polite way to say this would be like, hey, we need someone driven, right? But the realistic thing is we look for is like, we need someone annoying, right? Like we kind of need to bring in somebody that annoys us a little bit, right? That's like not so much that we can't get along with them at all, but just that they just kind of have like an annoying demeanor, right? A very persistent, annoying demeanor, and they're kind of constantly like dripping, like a drip every day. Like, why isn't this done yet? Like, we should have been done. I'm doing, get it done faster. Like this is the kind of stuff I typically don't like. I would kind of describe as like, I don't like this management stuff, but like, I was just kind of like thinking to myself, it does seem like the people that get these things done kind of have that, again, more politely said, driven personality type. But it really, what I would say they end up doing is just like kind of that constant drip of emails and meetings. Like, we're not done yet. Not done. It's like, that's kind of what you need, which isn't necessarily, I don't know. It's kind of weird to hire for that, right? It's like, we don't, like, you're too flat. Like, it would be funny to say something like, honestly, you're too nice. You're just too nice. Your presentation's too good. You're very easy to get along with. You are very reasonable. I can bring you arguments. You can decide why there's times that like we just need to postpone it, right? Like we can't actually have that person in this role. We have to have this person. It's like, no, like there will be no more disk, right? Like this is kind of back to the Jeff Bezos API thing, right? It's like, no, today everything is an API and you can't do anything else. And if you don't do that, then you're fired, right? It's like, you kind of need this for this to happen, because as I was just reading the article, did you know how, this is a little trivia for you. What year did Sony introduce the 3.5-inch floppy disk? Would you like to take a guess at that, Ty?
1984.
1983, pretty close. You're pretty close. So 50 years ago. So it's like, yeah. So if you're 50 years into this of floppy disk, we're probably 25 years since it's kind of outlasted its usefulness. So unfortunately, I think it's going to take someone that's annoying, persistent, and someone that's going to stay, right? Someone that's going to see the project through. That's not going to be like, I sent out a bunch of tweets, I got some publicity, I'm going to do it. They're actually going to be like, no, I'm going to see the project through. And I think it's a very difficult person to hire.
I think that's spot on. I think about this. I haven't realized this, but I think about this a lot when I talk with the executives that I talk with who are doing their digital transformation. And I think that many of them who are successful, that is an attribute they all have, in that they just are persistent. There's a word for you. They're persistent and details oriented. And so they're good at the politics, and not only the politics, but as you're saying, just doing it over and over again. Just it's like what you want in a good enterprise salesperson, who just like never gives up and is just constantly like trying to find an in and a new person and stuff like that. Like, I'm sure you've hung out with these enterprise salespeople, and you'll go to a meeting that you've had with someone, and then you're talking with them afterwards, and they're just like, oh yeah, I've got these 5 other people I need to talk with too. And you just see, like, in case this guy doesn't pay off, just, I'm not going to talk with her. I'm going to go to this other person over here, talk with them.
Yeah, just keep working.
Go up on here, and I think that's exactly what these leaders, as they say, they need to do. They just have to be there forever and ever. working
And of
it.
course, we
Which
make fun of this one because it's floppy disk and that's easy to do. But really, if you just generalize this and be like, hey, turns out there's like, I don't know, 10 million other use cases where we require paper, right? Where like a paper form must be like
yes,
basically written out, signed with illegible handwriting in some cases, or things that are misprinted, or all the things that every time I have to fill out like a customs form, I'm always like, this is not good, right? It's just like like they're like stamping it. I have a piece of paper, I have to keep track of it. I don't know if I wrote everything right, like the translation on like, well, it's like surnamed, it's like all of the mistakes that go on all the time. And it's like, so like, while yeah, sure, this thing with Japan is ridiculous, it's only ridiculous because it's just the floppy disk. If we just applied like, well, turns out there's millions of things that just require paper forms, it's even bigger, right? It's ridiculous.
I mean, there's two other recent examples. One is like you see all the stuff people accomplished for remote work and other stuff during COVID, right? Like it was a similar force where it's just like, well, you have no choice but to do it. And as we've been discussing, one force that you have no choice to do it is a really annoying executive who is just constantly like, it's and to add more color to it, as it were, more flavor, like the it's that person in the meeting who always talks about the same goddamn thing, like whatever it is. You'll be going over like, and that is why we need to firm up our relationship with Hitachi and the drive manufacturings, as my charts show. And then like, any questions, and they'll be like, well, what I want to get more of a feeling for is how this is prioritized above eliminating floppy disks. Like I'm not sure that showed up on the chart, and that was one of the board's FY29 corporate goals,
right?
That we have all agreed to. So I just want to make sure that shows up on the chart.
Yep. No, you're exactly right. It's absolutely true. So I don't know. So we'll go ahead.
Oh, and then the second one, a little bit into other news is I noticed that the what is it, the iPhone 14s or maybe the Pros, they will only have an eSIM, so not a physical SIM. Now, I didn't read it, but it looks like there's a loophole that you can buy a European version that has a physical SIM. Which
hold on. Let's make sure we'll save the Apple stuff. We don't want to lose the audience because they came. We're the Apple News podcast.
All I want to say is that is another example of like forcing an issue, right?
Yeah.
Say like, we have this other format no one wants to change, and now we're going to be the annoying.
Well, before we get into the Apple News, I did want to at least call out this because we have been talking about this, I don't know, for a long time. Is that, and I want to personally thank Tyler. Tyler is the one that tagged Software Defined Talk in the tweet thread, which is great. So I guess our friend Kelsey Hightower pointed out that the instant payments are becoming to the United States. It's called this, like, I guess, Fed service, and it looks like it's coming FedNow. It's called FedNow service, and it says it's supposed to come out between May to July of 2023. And having read through it, there's this page. Everyone can go to the show notes to go to it. You can actually go see it. It's on a very official looking government site. It says Board of Governors of the Federal Reserve System. But if you read through the whole thing, it sounds like we'll actually be able to instantly send money back and forth to the United States. That would be, from what I think of how it works in Europe, it'll be very similar. So
amazing.
But I don't know. It's one of these things where it's like, it seems a little too good to be true, right? Like, it seems like really it could actually happen. And also wondering, like, because it does says like, account holder. So I assume that's just sort of like every consumer in the United States will be able to do it. But I just wonder if at the end of this is going to become like a new back end, but like you don't get access to it, right? It's like, I don't know. So that's just me speculating. I'm just making that up. That does not what it says. It actually says that we should be able to do it. So back to digital transformation. I don't know how long Europe has had the instant payments. I get the impression it's been at least a decade, maybe longer. So
good question.
We in the United States, we're getting pretty close. If we're just and again, like, this one didn't even have the person. They didn't like have the name of the person that actually did it. So I think this would be, when the book is written about the floppy disk, maybe Paul Ford could take this one on next and say, I'm going to write the book of how the Fed actually installed and developed instant payments. In fact, I'll even throw it out. If anybody knows the person that's on this project, I feel like we are the podcast they should come on. I would love to have them on. We would give them the floor, Ask them all good questions. I want to hear end to end. I want to hear everything.
Oh,
How did
yeah.
it start? We will go so far into the weeds. Like I want to hear about ACH. I want to hear about check clearing. I want everything. I want to go 2 hours straight on the entire process, what they're doing, how it's going to work, the technology stack. Hopefully it's got Kubernetes in it. Well, whatever they've done. I would love to hear about that because it's about time. It's about time that the Fed gives us what we all wanted, instant payments.
I think we could do like quarterly updates just to check in on what's going on in there. And then, we're going to need to have some election coverage because when is the presidential, when's the next presidential term? I forget.
It'd be two years. So November 2024 will be the election, and then the next.
So this date is still within the boundaries of sanity here.
Oh yeah, we're talking optimistically. We're talking 10 months. We understand. Like, listen, we all worked on software projects. Like, fine. If they need another year, I'm not even complaining. Just the fact that it's happening is I'm excited to hear that.
Yeah, no, that would be a good readout. Is if all the banks were like, we just, it'd be impossible to do this, and you'd just be like, all right, we got all day. Let's go over why.
Let's really drill into this. Let's just keep going.
That's another tactic. I think the annoying, czar of floppy disk removal does is just like, great. I'm going to clear my schedule. Let's do it. Next week good?
We're just going through it.
I've been given authority from the board to help clear barriers and hurdles, but I need to understand them in depth first. So if you could meet on Wednesday, let's say, and let's just go over it.
Just go detailed. But I do think the benefits, as we joke here, like I think both of these are great examples of, and I like to, talk about, kind of the more mundane digital transformations, the ones I've mentioned here on the phone. Like I always think Austin, just the garbage, right? Austin City Utilities, like the fact that they just have a text message that tells you hey, the night before, it's like, it's recycling, it's garbage day, whatever. It's like, whoever did that, like, I'm sure that was incredibly painful to get done. Like, I'm sure even proposing it, they're like, why do people need this? And I'm like, to me, that has been just an insanely useful thing, right? Like, I can't tell you how many times it's reminded me to correctly put things out. So these are just two examples of, like, I bet you these will have enormous payoffs when they're all done. It's like, yeah, if all these people in Japan can just upload their files, and if here in the United States, if I can just quickly pay somebody without having to go through a bunch of third-party services, I think it's gonna be great value for everyone.
Yeah, I mean, it's good for it's especially good to be the American politician for small business owners, because then you don't have to worry about like clearing checks and all this stuff. You just, like, that's what you do around here. Is like someone does some work for you, they're just like, no, you can pay me right now. I mean, it never gets that like contentious, but it's just like, you just do it. Like, it's you don't have to worry about all sorts of man, that would be great. That'd be fun stuff. I don't know if I would benefit from it very much, but I would just be I'd be happy.
You would. For that. Somehow it would help you in your life. I don't know
how. Now, this is the episode of like great ideas that are getting close to being fixed, and I think the next one is, it looks like, I haven't gotten access to this yet, but it looks like Twitter is finally getting an edit button, which I don't know if that has much to do with infrastructure or software in the enterprise, but I feel like it probably does, because when you read surveys, you find that I don't know if this is true of operations people, but developers, they get most of their news, their information, I think, from three sources, if I remember most surveys, and that is Stack Exchange, of course, and then also, surprisingly, in the past 4 or 5 years, like GitHub has become a place. And I only say surprisingly because I don't think of it as a place where you go to get information. You go to get stuff there, but I guess increasingly there is more information there to like learn skills and do things. And then, of course, I think it's always number 2 or number 3 is Twitter. That's where developers always, like, it astounds me. So maybe now that we have an edit button, the quality of information people get will skyrocket, because there won't be so many typos. Things will work out well. I don't know. I mean, I think this could go either way, but I'm going to, I don't know what your position is, Brandon, but I am putting my not my money, but what I'm saying is it's going to be beneficial. It's good. We should have an.
But don't you think I feel like this is one of these things where, like, the defaults lifestyle maybe it just went off the rails, or the defaults just went off the rails. Like, I would say anywhere within the first 4 years of building Twitter, they could have just rolled this out as like just like any other
Yes.
quarterly update, right? Been like, oh, yep, and now you can edit a tweet, because you can even say it's like, hey, we always plan to let you edit if you had a typo, but we just didn't get to it, which is fine. Like it's like kind of the iPhone not having copy and paste when it first came out. It wasn't like no, they never said like, oh, you didn't need it. It was just like, we just didn't get to it for a while, and I feel like this is one of these things that like lingered for so long that I almost feel like people just started inventing reasons why it could be a bad idea. And it's like, sure, I mean, anything could be wrong. Or, I mean, there's always a downside to something, but given, and I think this is just a human nature, there's something about like writing text, reading it and being like, it's ready. But then when you actually submit it, like another thing happens in your brain where you then reread it more closely and you're like, oh, I just you can see your mistake, right? I feel like everybody
happens all the time.
Just like this. It feels like there's something about having sent a tweet, you read the tweet more critically than you did in draft. Like, why is that? I don't know why. But the fact, I did this the other day. I had to like update a LinkedIn post, and it was just like super simple. It was just edit, made the correction, save, and it was like nothing happened. Like the world didn't end. And I just think this is one of these things where it's like somehow people just went off the rails on this. Was like, we can't do it. There's no way it can be done. The fall of democracy will happen if we let people edit a tweet afterwards. And also the other thing that I've talked about a little bit on the show recently is like, I almost just feel like everything should have like a 30-minute grace period, right? Like you do something like a transaction and you immediately see the mistake. Like I recounted my problem there with the Venmo the other day. And it's like, yeah, that's just, I don't know if you wrote this here. It's like, humans are mutable. The software should be too. It's like, we just need to account for like human beings will make mistakes entering things. And like, it shouldn't be like the end of the world to like roll it back, especially when a very short period right after that. Because that's, so your thing about, you're talking about earlier about like accidents happen at home. It's like, yeah, mistakes happen all the time. And you often realize them right away. Not all of them, but you often see it within 30 minutes. So yeah, I almost feel like this should be just a rule. Everything should have a 30-minute grace period.
I like your takes there. And the primary take is that like, and I think this might be from the I forget what we called our analysis house, our analyst house, maybe the House of Nope or something. I feel like the House of Nope's position on here is like, yeah, this has been a stupid, persistent problem forever. There's absolutely no reason not to have an edit function, right? And as you were just going over, like, every other social service in existence has an edit function, and somehow it's possible, and has not brought, other things have brought about the downfall of civilization and social media instead of the edit button. So clearly it's just a stupid thing that should exist, and there's all those arguments about sort of like some sort of like system of sort of thing, I guess. And it's like, that's not what so pretentious, like, like there's no need for to preserve some system of record in a commercial enterprise. Like it's not important. And I think the as far as the mutability thing, yeah, there probably is like, I wonder if you could make a generalization that if there's anything that you're doing that can't wait 30 minutes for a confirmation, you probably don't need to be doing it. Right? Like there are a couple of things, like maybe when you need some like emergency surgery, or like when you call it like some sort of life and death situations. But in general, like there probably should always be a 30-minute window where you can revoke something. Like it doesn't really like, I don't really know, even when it comes to like buying stocks or something, the world would probably be a better place if everyone had to like wait 30 minutes to confirm. Like that's one of those things where like, oh, but then you would lose out on all of this. And it's like, no, but if everyone had that option, then everything would just equalize. And in fact, the faster, here would be another, is this a corollary? You could say there's another theory that is, the faster humans can make decisions and commit to them, the more damage is likely to be caused, rather than having like a little 30-minute window to sit out.
Or it's just the old, like I think Matt Ray's talked about this before, but when you're doing a lot of automation, for example, like just like if somebody's about to change like 10,000 servers, right? It's like, you don't just let them say yes. You actually pop up a window and say, okay, type in the exact number, and you show them the number. Okay, you've requested it to change 10,211 servers. Type in the number 10,211, right? Because it's sort of like, for stuff like that where you can actually like, okay, let's introduce a little friction. So that at least should make it a little bit simpler. But text, of course, is super hard, right? Because it's like, well, it's especially once you've gone back through a simple spell check, right? And it's like, okay, well, everything's spelled correctly, but still, you can completely miss what you said. So that's why I think text is always like this special case where it's like,
I'm thinking of a browser extension. And, I'm sure you've encountered this where I encountered this the other day where I was trying to batch edit some stuff. And it was like, it pops up that window that's like, once these edits are applied, you will not be able to reverse them. Type yes that you understand.
Yeah, exactly.
Or click yes, I understand. And I was thinking like there should be a browser extension that adds a third option. It's like, no, it's like, yes, I understand, cancel. And there should be a third option that says, I don't understand, but do it anyways. And when you click on that, it just makes it click no. Or cancel. And I think maybe that would also solve a lot of problems, right? Because people would say like, well, I still want you to do it, but then it would say,
what about this one for text? Like occasionally, not that often I'll do this though, but if something is sort of like a mutable text that you're doing, the best thing to do is to get like a coworker or someone to like come read, like proofread it. Like, hey, read this over real quick. Make sure I didn't make any obvious mistake, right? Now in the world of like virtual work, maybe that's not as easy. So like on Apple, on Mac OS, you can do like the whole like text to speech, depending on what application you're in. You can actually have it like, you can highlight it and have it like read it to you. Like that would not be like, if that was sort of like ingrained in it, it's like, okay, before you send this tweet, I'm actually going to like play it for you. I'm going to like read it back to you. Cause that maybe is more obvious that you've made the mistake. When you hear it, you're like, oh, that's not what I wanted. So maybe that would be some way to do it. But it's like right now it's kind of complicated because you have to like get the text, you have to be in the right Mac OS app that does it, and you have to do the text to speech. Whereas like, okay, like it's only a tweet, but like, hey, read all my tweets back to me, and then make me say, yes, I heard it. Yes, I want it. Like, yeah, that would be like a nice, like, I don't know, potentially, setting you could put on, or maybe put it on like for your most important tweets, right? You're like, yeah, I really want to do it. So I don't know, just some way to prevent the typo.
Yeah. I think you've got the solution right there. I think we'll roll that out after.
All right, I'll send it off to Twitter. I'm sure only 15 years to the edit button, so we're probably looking at 2037 on my voice to text check.
So I have a mini comment, and then maybe you can give me. I only read a little bit about Apple stuff. I mean, we might as well talk about it. I jumped the line a little bit earlier. We can go back to it, but there was a piece exploring the idea of what is it that the financials for SaaS companies should be. Was it 30, 30, 40? I don't know. I obviously read it closely, but basically thinking about what is the sort of average amount of money you should spend on R&D, sales, and then everything else or general G&A or whatever it is, all the other stuff at a SaaS company, trying to test out if the, is it 30, 30, 40? Whatever it is.
40, 40, 20 is what
there you go.
Is the proposal in this this specific, and that's R&D, sales and marketing, and then G&A.
Right. So, if you're talking with some executives at a SaaS company or some investors, they're going to be pushing you towards this this split of the way that you do your revenue. And this is a great piece of like spreadsheetery, very good analysis where it's like, all right, to test this out, let's look at a bunch of SaaS companies and see if they do it. Right. And then we'll get a sense of like if this number actually applies. I mean, excellent project there. And I think they found that I think it's moved a little bit. I forget what the numbers are.
Yeah, 30, 50, 20 is what they actually found.
Right. Now, however, this is just nothing against this project, but this is a pet peeve of mine of like financial analyst stuff like this is, so if you go look at the companies that they bundled together as SaaS companies, like you're looking at them like, yes, these are all companies that deliver their applications over the internet. That is indeed what they do. The model that they follow. But then there's like completely different businesses in there. Like I think maybe, I don't know all the companies, but I feel like the most different, the most variant between them is there's HashiCorp on there. And then there's also Expensify. So like, I'm not really sure like in what world comparing an expense filing business to a cloud infrastructure automation and configuration and certificate and secrets management business is like the same business that you could make any meaningful stuff with, right? And then, there's also like DocuSign in there, but then there's like Bill.com. Like there's some of the things that kind of fit into there, but eventually it's sort of like, it's almost as if when I see lists like this, it's like, if you were just to say like, well, digital businesses, and you were like, what do you mean digital businesses? And suddenly it's like 1976, and it's like, well, businesses that use computers. That's what we're ranking here. And like, then you're comparing like cardboard to missiles to like advertising firms or something, and it's just like starts to become sort of meaningless. So the analysis is fine, but I would like the as the iBankers say, the comps. I would like the comps to actually be comparable things instead of
Well,
it's
like,
not
what is this? The old saying, like, see a surgeon, get a recommendation for surgery, and it's like, and this is just like the classic, you know, ask a financial analyst for some generalized rules, and like, what are they going to do? They love Excel, and they're good at it. They're really good at it, so they just grab like it's like to a investment banker or financial analyst person, like it's just another stock sign row, right? It's just like, it does not matter.
This is
And
very
the more
true.
rows that are better, right? Because it makes the table looks longer. And then it's just like you start to output all these weird ratios like EPS and the SaaS stuff. And then, if you write enough, and then of course many of them went to Ivy Leagues, and they like to write. So they like to do the analysis, and they like to write a memo or a blog, and they put it out there, and it gets passed around long enough. People are like, wow, this 40-40-20 is actually 30-40, or sorry, what is it? It's 30-50-20. And then in the end, like no one goes back to the original data and be like, this whole thing is garbage, right? You're like, this universe of stocks you've picked is just worthless. So it is what it is, right? It's just like, that's how people want to summarize it. So I don't know if you're ever going to fight it. It's just
and to your point, like I'm doing this from memory, so I'll get it kind of wrong, but I think one of the, and hopefully you do the kind of analysis where you kind of throw out the outliers, or you don't throw them out, but you're like, okay, now let's look at it without outliers. And so I think the two of the largest outliers on R&D spend were that, like, Zoom spends something like 5 or 10% on R&D, which I guess kind of makes sense. Like, they're not really coming up with new features in the video world, the video conferencing world. But then Snowflake spends like 130% of revenue, which means they're going in debt on R&D. And you're kind of like, yeah, that also makes sense, right? I don't know anything about Snowflake, but I could totally believe that they just like spend a butt ton of money on developers and operations and R&D. And then it's kind of like, yeah, and that's also because they are completely different businesses. And then so once you throw those numbers into your analysis, if you don't throw out the outliers, then it's just like all the averages are out of whack, right? Like it doesn't.
Right. And I think we can maybe just dismantle this whole piece by just like, there's a line here: 73 SaaS companies have gone public since October 2017, and just go back to it and say, like, that is completely useless. Like, whatever, like you could pick 70 of many things have happened since October 2017. It's not useful. Like, because the whole classification of SaaS company is not useful. It's like, these are vastly different markets, solving vastly different. So if you want to say 70 infrastructure software companies or 70 consumer finance companies. So, and it's just kind of back to like the original, if the original data is just junk, then the whole rest of the thing is junk.
And the good news is you could get the spreadsheet and add a new column. You can add it to the left, you can add it to the right, wherever you want to add it. And then you could just go through and categorize like what those things are, and then you can do your filtering, and you can just do the analysis dynamically, and then you're done.
Absolutely
right. Yeah.
In fact, maybe they should use Snowflake. Maybe they should get away from Excel, right? They don't need to like create all these spreadsheets. Just kind of have it all built in. Just do it, do it however they want. That would be the next level, right? So, but that would not have been easy, and the person that wrote this probably didn't have those skills. So, hence 73 SaaS companies.
Yeah. Anyways, I used to spend a lot of time on both sides of the table creating and using these lists of data, and it was always kind of insane how they are bucketed together. Well, Brandon, what were the Apple announcements yesterday? What I think anyone listening to this probably knows what they are. Give us like.
All right, I'll just give
let me ask you a very Brandon question.
Yeah.
What are you going to spend money on?
Well, my situation, I have the iPhone X, which I think is the iPhone 10. I can't remember which way yours says. So I'm like, mine is very old. I think I said a while back, I upgraded the battery and it's given it a new life. It's been good, but I feel like probably this is the time. I think I'm 5 years, past. So I think I'm going to go ahead and buy myself a new iPhone, and I will probably buy the iPhone 14 Pro because, I'm a pro, Cote. And I would say like
totally.
my biggest takeaway was of everything that was announced, the thing I'm kind of most interested in was what they call, and the name is somewhat ridiculous. It's called the Dynamic Island. So on the new iPhone 14 Pro, at the very top where they used to have the notch, and now the notch is a dynamic island. So they basically, there's like this little cutout where they, for the Face ID. But what they've done, which I think is very clever, is they basically use that real estate to, if you will, put notifications and information about what your iPhone is actually doing. So it's kind of a new metaphor for interacting with the iPhone. And I was like, and I don't know, I think Apple, I was trying to think about it. I think the fairest way to say it is Apple's track record is somewhat mixed. Like I think sometimes they introduce stuff like Expose. I really like Expose for switching apps. I don't know if that's something you use. I think that one's really good. People are saying the keyboard, right? The whole touch bar, that seemed to be a failure. Most people didn't like it. I never really used it. But this one, I was like, oh, this seems kind of an interesting way. Like they took the notch, they saw some dead space, and they figured out a way to kind of like playfully do something interesting with it. So obviously I just saw the demo, and it's only available on the iPhone 14.
So
Pro.
it's like there's a screen now in this place where there previously wasn't a screen.
Well, essentially what they do is like there's this black dot, but they just basically dynamically make it bigger and smaller, and they show you information. So it's almost like
I see.
It looks like they're trying to make it more natural, right? It's sort of like, instead of just being like a hole on your screen, it's sort of like, oh, this is the place that I go, kind of like a taskbar, kind of like, sort of like, here's what I can see what's happening on my iPhone. So I thought that was the demo very clever. I'll have to wait and see what it's actually like. Now the name, like, I don't know, man. I just think it's crazy that they settled on Dynamic Island, because it's dynamic because it not only changes like what it shows, but it changes the actual size and width, if like, so depending on what it is. So I get the metaphor, right? I get the idea that the thing is like constantly changing size, but I don't know. Dynamic Island, it just seems
maybe
like
what we'll find. Name. Maybe what we'll find later this year is that there's some key executive at Apple who will finally retire, and then it turns out they were the ones who were like so serious and like took themselves so seriously, and that just kind of went into the culture. And now like just like the clowns are loose. They're just like, this person was out planning their retirement at their vineyard, Lake Como or whatever, right? And then the team who was coming up with naming was like, this is our time. Let's go to the file folder and see what we've been storing up. And they were Dynamic Island. That's
now the one for you though. I thought of you specifically when I saw this was at least here in the United States, they're going, all the new iPhones will have the eSIM. So we will no longer have physical SIM cards, which I think is fine. I'm actually fine with that. But it also said, and I don't know, this is where like I don't have any practical experience, is that it would be, at least they describe it as being very easy to have multiple eSIMs on one phone. So I thought of you, Cote, right? Like if you have, like, I know you have your US number, like that I'll text you, at least I know you have a US number that you text when you're in the United States. And I assume then you have one in Europe. So I don't know, like, is this something that will be helpful to you? Will you actually have two phone plans on one phone? Or is the idea, is it just crazy talk? Does it not work in the real world?
Yeah, I think, well, and I was kind of, as they say, showing my hand earlier when I was previewing this. I think this is a classic chicken and egg problem, right? Where like it is, eSIMs are not available not only everywhere regionally, but like with the carriers that you would want to use. And so it's only recently that, so I use Vodafone here in the Netherlands, and they kind of only, well, I don't know, they've had an eSIM for a while. And so I switched over to that. And then I use Google Fi, which also has an eSIM, but like it's not like as pervasive as you would want it to be. And so like, I guess to put it another way, if eSIMs were supported everywhere, it'd be great, right? That would be really nice. But there are cases where like you just, especially like I'll be going back to the States before I had Google Fi, and you're just like, I just want to buy this random SIM card that like is in an airport and it's going to work fine. And like, there's no eSIM support or whatever. So, whether you're using like Boost or here, there's another one, a low cost one here in the Netherlands called Lycra, Lycra or something. And yeah, I mean, that's pretty much it. I mean, this is a, as I was talking earlier, it's a classic Apple situation where they're like, well, we believe the state of reality should be X, and it is currently X minus 10. And so start adding.
Yeah.
And like,
But in
and
this case,
so
I think I'm for it. Like, I think they have enough say in the industry. It's like, yeah,
totally,
this
yeah,
just
yeah, yeah,
means in
yeah.
like and I heard someone else say this too, like it'll be bumpy. The bumpy ride to the actual switch over. I think people like in your case, people that sort of have to deal with SIM cards will have it a little bit rough. But for the vast majority of us, it'll just be like, oh yeah, fine. Like
Yeah, no, I
I
mean,
didn't swap Sims much anyway, so it doesn't matter.
yeah. I mean, it'll be like, boy, do you remember when we went from like SCSI cables to USB and how much of a stress that was? Oh, you don't remember? Exactly. Like no one cares. Like it's just it'll happen. And yeah, I think it would actually be they can use their market share to do it. Now the real issue becomes, I think now I saw they have some satellite stuff in there. And I was thinking like this is a little, they're talking about this over on the Dithering podcast. It is, I mean, it's always difficult to complain about this kind of stuff because it's all about safety and saving lives and stuff. But like this did seem to be a huge emphasis on just like crash detection and rescuing people. So, which I guess is cool, like better safe than sorry. But part of that is because they have some satellite thing. And I was thinking, maybe here's the next move. So your next problem in international iPhone ownership is data roaming charges. And just like, you have to spend a lot of time to figure out the optimal setup. And if you're lucky enough to like have a US mailing address and be able to be in the US when you activate it, you can get Google Fi as long as whatever. It's very complicated, right? But maybe Apple will be like, well, also when you're traveling internationally, you can just use our satellite to get to the internet until your cell phone providers catch up, right? And it just seems like I don't really think there's a reason to pay for international data roaming. Like, in that I can get it really cheap with Google Fi. It's included in a lot of T-Mobile stuff. And so it's kind of like, what's going on here?
Yeah,
And so
that's just
maybe they
more
can force that
legacy.
issue.
It's really the businesses are like, it's not technology limited in that.
It's like the floppy disk of
Yeah.
the cell phone industry.
Well, I will say, I do think the whole event, to your point, it's like all of those features, crash detection, satellite, and basically they had the whole Apple Watch Ultra for if you're kind of like an extreme athlete. It's like they are all great features, and they are like, it's nice they exist. So they did, like when you're watching it, it just felt like a lot of like mortality in your face. You know what I mean? It was just like,
Yeah,
well, I'm glad I have that, but it's like, I don't know, it would just be like the car dealer talking about the seatbelts the entire time you're at the dealership. You're
yeah.
like, I no, like, I'm really glad there's seatbelts here. I think it's really important, but I just like, I don't really want to think about it that much.
Like it seems like a lot of it, including the watch thing, was built for that use case of the guy who got stuck in some rocks and had to cut his hand off.
Ugh,
Like
yeah.
it's sort of like well, if he had this, everything would be cool, which is awesome. But it seems like a weird diversion there. However,
I'll leave you on this one. We can get out of here on this one. I did think the best deal, I think the two of the best deals I think in Apple going are, one, I think the cheapest iPad is a great deal. I think that's a great computing device for people that aren't into computers, whether they be children or just people that don't need stuff. Because you can get one of those for, I think, $300, right? And that's a lot of computing power for $300. And I think the new Apple Watch SE 2, which I know is a mouthful, I think that's a pretty good deal. I think that was like $249, and you basically get most of the functionality in the newest watch, the Series 8 that they announced. And I feel like that is just a great device. I think I really like my Apple Watch for obviously just tracking fitness, and like I use it kind of as an easy way to authenticate into the computers and stuff like that. So it's sort of like a simple thing to do. But I also think, as I mentioned on the show before, I think it's a great device for like kind of the tween crowd, right? Like, kind of give them a little bit of responsibility with not quite a mobile phone, but something that can, like, they can call you, they can message you, they can kind of do some stuff. And for $250, it's a reasonable amount of money to get in on versus like, the $1,000 iPhone. So I put those on my best buy for Apple. We
can close it out, but you're making me think maybe all this like life and death stuff is actually good. Cause like, I feel like if I could get my kids to reliably wear a watch that would let me locate them all the time, and if they needed something, they could like call me. And then also it would give me like, that acknowledgement that I had delivered and they had read text messages I had sent them. Then I think I'm all in. I'm like, yep, let's do that. I love this stuff.
Yeah,
and then of course,
I got that. Yeah,
I'm going to get old one day and I'm going to fall and not be able to get up. Then I'll probably still be wearing an Apple Watch, so it'll be nice to have that there.
Excellent.
Well, speaking of falling and not getting up, if people want to get up, there's really no transition there, Brandon. Do we have any bureaucracy this episode?
Well, what everyone should do is get up and send me an email to stickers@softwaredefinedtalk.com, and I will be include your postal address, of course. Send me your postal address, and I will send you a sticker anywhere in the world. And you can join John in Knoxville, Young in Austin, and Matt in Silver Spring. Matt, Coach, a little trivia for you. What state is Silver Spring in?
Colorado?
No, it's in Maryland. That's up where I used to live. So, I thought, all these years working together, I thought maybe you knew that. So, all of them sent me an email, and I sent them all stickers. So, one, it was great to hear from them. And again, if you would like a sticker, just email me stickers@softwaredefinedtalk, and I'll send you one. Also, Matt Ray, he's on the injured reserve this week. He has laryngitis. I hope he's recovering well. So he could not make it. I did want to say that Patrick tweeted about BirdNet, which he mentioned last week, and his Patrick says his 5-year-old son really likes the pictures of the birds that they've, I guess, discovered. So if Patrick had sent this email using a trackball, which maybe he'll tell us if he had, I would say that would be the most Matt Ray feedback of all time. So I don't know if Patrick is using a trackball and installed BirdNet. Matt Ray has found his tribe. But it sounds like that was a pretty big hit, the BirdNet. And of course, last week, if you listened all the way to the end, you heard 1 Matt Ray bird impression and 3 bird sounds. So
very
if
good.
you missed out on that, just go all the way to the end. There should be a chapter bookmark in there, and you can listen to all the birds that Matt found near his house.
Now, do you think we could get Matt to put a trackball out by where the birds are and set up a camera to take a picture of a bird roosting on a trackball?
I think that would be. I mean, well, I think he probably has it. If he has a trackball hooked up to a Raspberry Pi, we'll get him to send a picture of it.
Because I think that might be his family crest. With we could propose that for him. Bird awry on spherical pointer device, I think, is the heraldic term for that.
Oh man! Oh my God.
Well, they're speaking of being awry on a spherical device known as this world. There's several conferences coming up. There's DevOps Talk Sydney, and I believe Matt Ray is going to be there September 6th to 7th. So if you hop into a time machine, you can go back in time and check that out. Hopefully there'll be a recording of it, because today is September 8th as we record this. Now, also in October, I think Matt will be at the Sydney Cloud FinOps meetup, October 13th. If you want to find the link to that, you can go to softwaredefinedtalk.com/376. And you can also find a link to other conferences like KubeCon North America, which is in Detroit, October 24th to 28th. And then, of course, Spring One Platform, December 6th to 8th. It's going to be in San Francisco at the Moscone. Now, you grew up in New England, Brandon, so you're sort of familiar with the way Italian is pronounced. Now, I think Moscone is Italian, right? Is it Moscone or Moscone? If that was Italian, how would you say?
I believe I've heard many people say it. I believe it's Moscone is what it is. But my natural pronunciation, which is almost always wrong, is to say Moscone. But I think that is a Americanized and English. That is. So I think it's Moscone. But happy to. Many people can correct me on that. Could be wrong.
Yeah. Well, why don't you come to Spring One Platform December 6th and 8th at Moscone and/or Moscone West in San Francisco? And if you want to register for it, I think we're going to publish the full agenda and catalog in the next few weeks. But anyways, if you go to springoneplatform.io, you can use the code COTE 200. That's COTE 200 to get $200 off. 200 American dollars, which are doing pretty good nowadays compared to other currencies. So you might want to put that in a bank and use it to buy tacos or something. Also, there's still a call for papers open for that conference. I think it's just going to be in Texas, probably Round Rock or something, January 16th to 19th. But for all of that, just go to softwaredefinedtalk.com/376, and you can check those things out. Now, with that, Brandon, what do you have to recommend this week?
All right. Well, to continue on our theme of bags, I think I'm going to recommend 2. So one, I don't know if I recommended this before, so apologies. This is a repeat, but I know we've talked a lot about duffel bags, and for different reasons, you need them to travel. Maybe you're moving abroad. Maybe your kid is going to camp. Maybe you're just packing because you're moving for whatever reasons. But I want to recommend the I think it's called the Frankta IKEA duffel bag, which is this giant blue rectangle bag that costs $4.99. But there's kind of a cult following to it. It's amazingly durable for what it is. It even has like the handles can even become like a little backpack. So if you're traveling and you need a bunch of bags that are relatively well made for what they are and are incredibly easy to pack, and then more importantly, very easy to stack, like in a car or really anyway, I would highly recommend the Frank. So again, you don't have to buy the $200 blue was a black hole. You can just get this $491.91, and it's sold at IKEA. And like I said, if you search online, you'll find a bunch of people. And then I think, as I mentioned at some point, I think I don't know if I mentioned it, and I think I mentioned it in one of our little ad breaks, but I also recommend the LL Bean Stowaway Pack. So if you are going away, you need just a day pack, something to throw in your suitcase so you can comfortably carry around all the things that you need in an amusement park when you're touring Paris, when you're just doing whatever you want. Check out the LL Bean Stowaway Pack. I like that one too.
I don't think I've ever seen this Fracta storage bag. That is amazing. Like
It's fantastic. I know like it's kind of hard to see it, or you can't touch it obviously online, but it's surprisingly
I think
well made.
Now, I don't want to commit to this, but just for my own, like, I feel like I could start a spreadsheet. It couldn't be a spreadsheet because I'm going to want to have pictures. It might have to be like a web log or something, or maybe a Twitter account. And, because of my airline status, I can always check a bag, right? And so I feel like maybe I should get some of these and start doing some kind of consumer report style testing. Like I'm gonna load it up, maximum weight of various things, and see if it survives the trip.
Well, I thought of you when I was thinking about this bag, is that I know when you come to the United States, as you've recounted, you always have a shopping list. I think this is, you can buy, obviously, if you're in Austin, IKEA is right up the road. In fact, I've got some extras. I'll just give you one, Kote. You could basically take one of these, and this is sort of like your shopping list bag. Like you got to bring back the peanut butter, the weird stuff from Buc-ee's, a cowboy hat, whatever all the stuff the family needs. It's like, I think this is the perfect bag because it's, you don't, to your point, like on the way over, you don't need it. You just grab it right at the end. You stuff it full of its stuff. You check the bag. It's in Amsterdam and you're back and the family's happy. It's almost like a gift bag, if you will, for all of them.
Because I feel like, it looks like it's pretty durable. I like, this material. Like we've all experienced the worn out, whatever those bags are. They're very durable things. But so if you're concerned about it breaking, it's $5. You could buy 2 of them and you pack one of them and then you put that one zipper down into another one and then you zip it up. And that's probably going to be super secure, right? You've got 2 bag layers with the zippers on opposite ends. And like, that's probably, and if you really wanted to go crazy, you could like kind of duct tape, put a couple strands of duct tape on it and then you're set. Like,
all of these things work, but I'm you know what? I've used this bag a couple of times. Like it's surprised just as it is. I would be comfortable.
All right.
I even know the flight, on the Amsterdam flight direct, right? I think it'll be fine. Just from the Austin.
Well, maybe I should.
I think you'd be ready to go.
I think when I have good trips, I'll just test this out and do some road testing of it.
I love it.
I'll put like some bags of flour in there or something like that and just see what happens.
Doesn't work for barbells, kids.
well, speaking of stuff that you bring back from the States, maybe this is available here, but I want to recommend the Cavender's all-purpose Greek seasoning. Now, I was in HEB the last couple of weeks, looking around for stuff, and I came across this, and I remember my mother always had this stuff. Maybe there was one point, and I just remember that one week. But we always had this stuff in our house, and it was really delicious. And I, of course, as I do in the States, I got not in the States, as when I'm in Texas, I got like a big, plump, good-looking avocado. Can you guess how much this big avocado cost me, Brandon?
I don't know. $2?
68 cents.
Oh, you bought it. Oh, that's right. You bought it in. Yeah, please continue. Yes, you told me.
Yeah. Now I never got around to eating it, which is my shame. But I was like, I got to have some salt or something to put on it, and I saw the Cavender's all-purpose Greek seasoning, and I bought that, and I didn't actually use it till tonight, and it's delicious. I do know what's in it, but the secret to the Cavender's all-purpose Greek seasoning, if you read the ingredients, you got salt, black pepper, cornstarch, to keep it from caking, garlic, and then here it comes, monosodium glutamate. Done.
Okay.
I think anything with MSG in it is going to be delicious, and I'm all about it. Like,
Can't
but
be bad.
what I want to close out. I haven't tried it with this, but the next time you, dear listeners, make popcorn, get some MSG, put it on it. Done. That's and I bet this stuff will be really good too. But it's very cheap, and I'll put a link to it in the show notes. But there's a great history of why this originates from Arkansas instead of Greece that you can read. And with that, when you are, if you're waiting for your popcorn to pop, whether you're cooking it artisanally on a skillet or more efficiently in a microwave, so you can put some MSG or some Cavender's all-purpose Greek seasoning on it, what you can do is you can go to softwaredefinedtalk.com/376, and you can find the show notes, all sorts of things we didn't talk about. You can dive into the details. You can figure out how you would categorize all these SaaS companies to derive some sort of handy rule of thumb. And you can join our Slack channel, all sorts of discussions there, all sorts of exciting things. If you go to softwaredefinedtalk.com /, you'll find it all there. Bye-bye.
All right. Well done, Cote. Well done as always. Appreciate everyone hanging out in the chat. I was just looking, I need to make some more people VIPs. I cannot remember how to do it now, of course. But I appreciate Brian. Brian's always, Brian's our official moderator. So I appreciate him showing up. And Rex is a VIP. Of course, JJ is a VIP. I don't know how to say this last one. Yeah, we got a bunch of other people in here. I need to, I will take that as an action item. How do I have to remember how to do it?
I want to note that this is, let's see, how do I get, and you can't see, but an ancient Greek formula. Now
was this as well received as the everything bagels?
Oh, we haven't actually tried that yet.
What? So, I thought that was like the main task you were sent to bring back, right?
Yeah, that was just the most exotic, strange thing. But yes, yeah, we'll have to try that out on something.
Is our bagels like a thing in Amsterdam? Is that like a thing, or is it like it's like what do you just do? Just put it on bread? Like you just get some fresh bread and put it like what are you even using it on?
I have no idea. I think it's like your Fracta. There's probably some cult of things that you put it on. Just like I'm sure these Fracta people have come up with like runway like dresses and pants built out of this stuff. Who knows? But put it on whatever. Season some chicken breast with it.
Well, it's good. It's good you have it now. If nothing else, you have it. So
have you ever done the mayonnaise marinade for fried chicken? Not fried chicken like breaded chicken, but just grilled. No,
but I could see where it's probably like I could see where that would probably become pretty good. Is it good?
Yeah. I haven't done that much, but I did it tonight, and it works out because mayonnaise is just oil and eggs.
Yeah,
right?
That's what I was thinking. Yeah, no, I could see where like especially if I don't know if it looks a different color. Like I think that would be like you just make it look red. It's almost like a I don't know. It would probably look more appetizing.
Makes it crispy.
Crispy. There you go. So. All right. Well, appreciate everyone watching us on the stream a little earlier this week, but that worked out well. I mean, earlier on the day of Thursday, not earlier on a Wednesday. But anyway, Matt Ray will hopefully be back next week. We really appreciate everyone watching. And with that, we'll talk to you next time.
Bye.